Sio ya kurent ama namna gani? So ndio nimeambia wadosi, jameni, tukue wangwana. Wale wametupigia kura ni hawa na hawana kazi. Sasa mimi nikiambiwa nikatwe shilingi 1.5%, ndio huyu jamaa mwenye amenipigia kura apate kazi, iko makosa? Ndio huyu jamaa ambaye ametupigia kura pia awe na nyumba ya shilingi 3,000 iwe yake baada ya 15-20 years, iko makosa? Nimeambia wadosi, tulizeni boli. Kenya ni yetu sisi zote, na tutashughulika mpaka kila mtu akuwe na kipande na sehemu ya taifa letu la Kenya.
Now from housing, human rights defenders have threatened to mobilize Kenyans to the streets if Parliament adopts the Social Health Insurance Bill of 2023. The group says adoption of the bill now that is in its second reading will stage a further strain on purchasing power of many households struggling with a high cost of living and taxation.
The human rights defenders claim Kenyans can no longer bear the burden of taxation, calling on the executive to rethink the bill and the proposals therein.
Oko Uchumi Coalition survey done between May 19th to June 6th showed 77% of Kenyans do not support the proposed NHIF deductions.
They want Parliament to focus on formulating a tax policy to guide the formation and implementation of tax-related laws.
All these taxes cannot be implemented without meaningful public input. However, we are all too aware of the interference of public participation in Kenya. It often seems like a mere checkbox process influenced by politics, making it an unreliable safeguard against punitive laws.
The lobby group has threatened to mobilize Kenyans to the streets if Parliament adopts the bill.
In the interest also that does not work with the courts. We'll also go to the sovereign power.
Madam Speaker.
In Parliament, the bill has drawn varied reactions from members of Parliament when the bill was tabled for its second reading.
This bill, Madam Speaker, we are convinced, having worked in the committee and the work done in the committee, that it will be a more effective replacement of the current NHIF. The difference between this and NHIF is that it actually has three funds together. The social health insurance, which is different from what is in NHIF now, because this, everybody will be covered, with the indigents being paid for by the government.
Most of the persons, Madam Speaker, who are suffering, who are not in a position to work, be productive, are the persons who are the poorest of the community. These are persons, Madam Speaker, who sometimes have even such diseases as pressure, diabetes, and Madam Speaker, because they cannot access these simple services, Madam Speaker, these diseases finally develop into serious diseases that cause these families a lot of suffering in terms of actually expense.
The bill proposes to reform the National Hospital Insurance Fund contribution model and will oversee a mandatory deduction of 2.75% from employees' basic salaries for the health scheme.
The question is, how much can that particular payslip carry in as far as deductions is concerned? Now, a motion to impeach Nyamira County Governor Amos Nyaribo has been tabled at the County Assembly for debate. The motion is sponsored by Esise Ward member of County Assembly, Josiah Mangera. Nyaribo is facing accusations of abuse of office and violation of the Constitution, among others. The members of the County Assembly have ruled out influence from outside forces.
The stage is set for a showdown in the Nyamira County Assembly following the tabling of an impeachment motion against Governor Amos Nyaribo.
I now wish to give a notice of motion to consider, debate and approve a motion for removal of the Governor, His Excellency Amos Nyaribo, from office of County Governor, Nyamira County, pursuant to Article 181 1A, B, and C of the Constitution of Kenya 2010.
24 out of the 34 members of the County Assembly had signed the impeachment motion, accusing the county boss of laxity in the execution of his duties and a performance and violation of the Constitution.
We've put all the grounds there for the whole world to see. We've laid our evidence, documentary evidence. We have witnesses who will help us build our case. It's only in Nyamira, where there are no functional street lights at all. It's only in Nyamira, where an ECD teacher is paid 25 million as a month as a special salary.
The members of the County Assembly claim they have not been influenced by any outside forces to file the motion and that they were acting in good faith for the county.
We are not doing this because of personal reasons with the governor, or we are not pushed from any quarter to do this. This is out of our own conscience as leaders, elected leaders, who represent thousands of voters who sent us here.
For the motion to sail through, at least 23 members of the County Assembly have to support it. The decision will then be forwarded to the Senate for action. Nyaribo becomes the second governor after Kawira Mwangaza of Meru County to face impeachment since the last general election.
And Kawira Mwangaza of Meru County is not out of the woods yet, as MCAs have also said and laid out an impeachment motion against her. We'll wait and see what happens to Kawira as well as Nyaribo there. Now we cross over to business, and also just to remind you that the Energy Committee of the Senate want the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum to conduct an actuarial study on the commerciality of the crude oil deposits in Turkana. The Senate is currently in Turkana, and we have our team down there. Further details in our subsequent bulletins. Now to business. High taxes and levies charged by both national and county governments are crippling small and medium enterprises in Kenya. A study by the Institute for Social Accountability says Kenyan-based SMEs, pays an average of 12 taxes and levies, hampering the growth of the industry. The institute is calling for a reduction in taxes and levies, simplification of tax procedures, and training on tax filing and compliance.
The Kenya Revenue Authority is the constitutional body mandated with tax management and administration. An aggressive taxman has seen collections jump to 2.17 trillion shillings in the last financial year. On the other hand, the 47 county governments collected 32 billion shillings through multiple levies and fees in the same year.
It's incumbent on government to ensure that we collect everybody who is supposed to pay tax, pays his fair share of tax, but more importantly, to ensure that there's good tax administration laws.
The Institute for Social Accountability says Kenyan SMEs are bearing the brunt of high taxes and levies, which is sinking their businesses.
Na unaitishwa taxes kila upande. Ukifika kama asubuhi mimi nimenunua chai na mkate. Sasa hii mkate ni pesa ngapi? 60 maziwa. So unajua kuna watu wanasema watu wa jua kali hatulipi tax. Tunalipa tax mingi sana.
Hatuwezi kusisitiza haya mambo kwa kina kupita yale tumefanya, kusema kwamba we need to reduce the burden. Clearly the burden is too much.
We must look at advisory roles to the government, and this must come from the people after a lot of participation, public participation.
The Institute says there is an urgent need to reform current tax policies to help SMEs comply with tax policies. According to the study, issues of double taxation, complex tax filing processes, harassment, and the lack of knowledge are hindering the informal sector's ability to comply with the taxman.
We believe that government is open to listening and making the necessary reforms within this particular crisis of the economy and taxation, and the injustice being meted both on the informal sector and the formal sector is an opportunity for genuine reforms about how we work on our public finance management, not just the taxation.
We are trying also, or as leaders, we are concerned about your issues. but saa ingine mnatusukuma. Let's be honest.
That is a very normal, in a normal curve of operations in terms of collection of taxes. The more you increase tax, the more people look for ways of evading, and the lesser tax, because some businesses will close because of that.
The Institute is also recommending special tax incentives, diversity in tax sources, tax harmonization, and civic education to increase compliance.
Now, lack of knowledge on money management skills is slowing down the uptake of SACCO products. The African Confederation of Cooperative Savings and Credit Association has committed to strengthening the SACCO movement in Africa through knowledge exchange programs aimed at educating savers on financial literacy. Dita Mukami with the details.
SACCOs are increasingly playing a vital role in driving financial inclusion in many parts of the world, especially in developing countries. Through technology, SACCOs can offer tailored products and increase their reach to new members. This has, however, been hampered by low financial education and empowerment, as most savers lack the requisite knowledge on money management skills.
SACCO business model is about inclusion, not exclusion. Some of the things we are going to discuss in the meeting to see how can we have more young people within this particular space, so that a country like Kenya with high unemployment rate, can we use the SACCO business model to create employment and to add value to our citizens.
Stakeholders say there is a need to increase access to affordable financial services and products for wider populations, especially low-income households and micro, small and medium-sized enterprises. This, they say, will lower barriers to entry evidenced by increased efficiency and lower cost of transactions.
Once we attend these forums, we learn the best practices, and that is how we create confidence within our members to join more people, more Kenyans to join the cooperative movement.
Regulatory bodies are in the process of reviewing policies to ensure compliance in order to increase transparency in the management of SACCOs.
We and the regulator and the ministry will continuously be relentless in ensuring protection of members' funds, protection of contributors' funds, because we are driving a narrative that a shilling in a SACCO is as good as a shilling in a bank.
The move comes ahead of the annual Savings and Credit Cooperatives Association 2023 SACCO Congress, slated for mid-October in Botswana, that aims to promote collaboration, share best practices, and address common challenges facing SACCOs in the continent.
Now to sports, and some good news is that our national women's soccer team, that is Harambee Starlets, have qualified for the second round of the Women Africa Cup of Nations qualifier match after they defeated Cameroon 4-3 on post-match penalties at the Nyayo National Stadium.
Amejituma sana Anne Dikundu. Wacha tuone basi itakuwaje. Violet Nanjala Wanyonyi akienda kupiga penalti ya pili ya Harambee Starlets. Violet akimtizama Bihina. Raisi amefunga Raisi Violet Nanjala bao moja Ngelesha. Wacha tuone basi atafanya nini. Cynthia Shilato, mfungaji wa bao la leo.
Cynthia Shilato Musungu, penalti tamu sana. Kule juu anakoishi njiwa.
Mzoefu huyu.
Kutokana na umri wake.
Na kimo chake pia.
Dogo! Tazama hapo! Shangilia! Mnasemaje nyie? Mimi ndiye mwanalima hata.
Upo penye magoti na kuomba kwamba jamani, unayenemesha neema nono na ndogo ndogo tusaidie leo.
Antigo! Penalti yake Cheryl Anjibangachi inaipeleka timu ya taifa raundi ya pili.
Nakwambia Wakenya walijua kwamba wana imani na hii timu. Wakenya wameja.
And there we go, that particular score, or the goal made by Cheryl Angachi, that was a winning goal there to propel the Starlets there to qualify for the second round actually of the 2024 Women Africa Cup of Nations. Well, in ladies, that puts a cap on matters and news this morning. Be sure to check out our website for updates on various issues that we are following up on. But up next is a conversation around what is happening within our political scene, especially now that it has been revealed in one of the media sources is that particular dialogue that we are referring to as bipartisan talks is costing the taxpayer a cool 106 million shillings. I'm Regina Manyara. Enjoy your viewing.
Government of Turkana welcomes you to the Ehale Center in Lodwar Town for the 7th edition of the Turkana Cultural and Tourism Festival. From 12th to the 14th of October 2023. Come, experience the origin of mankind with its unmatched beauty from the beaches of Lake Turkana to the oil wells of Lokichar. Live on Channel 1, Radio Taifa and KBC Turkana Service.
Na unajua kujifanya ukuwe nyeupe ni upumbavu. Tajua
wewe
wanajipotoa. Alafu wana change color wanakuwa maroon commandos.
Tushaona mpaka uso vile imechomeka, unataka avue nguo alafu afanye.
Ametaka kama zebra cross. Tumia hizo product. Nilijaribu lakini niliungua. Niliungua nikakuwa makaa mheshimiwa. Umesema
hydroquinone?
Mlikuwa na hewa wapi?
It's a component in your products.
Dr. Otero almost died because of your negligence. But that was an accident. That was... In this hospital, we don't accept those accidents.
We are going to find out together what exactly happened to you that night.
When that Annibal leaves, tell me at once. My plans. So I can put my plan into action.
Calm down!
Annibal.
Calm down!
If you've been unfaithful or not, I beg you, tell Isabel! What do you mean your brother was shot?
What?
So how is Danielle?
I don't know, Dad. I had to leave him there because Isabel had an asthma attack.
What's going on?
You left him there?
I already called an ambulance.
Nasema hivi, naona siku hizi kazi za masecretary zimehamia majumbani.
Wamaanisha nini?
Yaani imefikia mahali wewe uandika mimi kwa voicemail. Kila ingekupigia simu mteja, ulikuwa utarajia mimi fanye nini?
Si ungengoja tu unajua nitakuja ofisini tuongea. Wewe ulitaka kuua mtu kwa kumjeruhi kwanza.
Nyanyuka kanenda. Wewe uko na madharau sana wewe. Unacheka nini sasa?
Unakula space ya bure hapo. Nenda katoe kiviti chako, nenda.
We traveled to Gilgil, Nakuru County to meet one military veteran, retired Lieutenant Colonel Dr. Michael Munyoki, who welcomes us to his complex. The Colonel was born in Machakos County, where he went through his early education life.
I was born on 24th December 1958 in Machakos, but specifically in Yatta. And then I went to school, a local primary school called Chasion, and then I went for secondary school in a place called Baikin. So Baikin Secondary School is in the Wamonyo, Machakos. Announcement of recruitment for the Kenya Defense Forces came, and then I chose to go and try. And then we were told to report to Lanet, at Lanet, FTC, Armed Forces Training College then. We went through the same screening medical, and then I qualified, and I went to training for 9 months. I commissioned on the 26th of March 1982. I was posted to 66 Artillery Battalion, Kenyatta Barracks in Gilgil.
The 1982 coup happened just months after he enlisted and was among officers who responded to secure Nakuru, where the then President Daniel Arap Moi was at the time.
I was still green as an officer. Little experience in a unit. I took action, I mobilized troops, gave briefings, and deployed them. We had a roadblock here in Gilgil, along Gilgil Karianduzi Road. When the president reached the State House Nakuru, there was the fear tense, and it's like, how does the president reach Nairobi? So we organized such that he was brought here, and when he was here, actually near the junction here, we put him on a panad, the small armored cars.
He remembers one of his most challenging assignments in Kapedo in 1983 as one of the officers deployed to secure the volatile Rift Valley.
I was what we call a gun position officer, and therefore I had troops, I had to deploy guns, and then I had to cover. And we recovered so many cows, and we also lost quite a number of soldiers from Nairobi. Cattle rustlers were very smart. When they realize you are bombing, they will go under the caves, and when you finish, they will come out and still continue the activities.
A military-trained doctor, Munyoki would be sent out in 1999 for more training in Pakistan, where he trained as an instructor in gunnery and came back to Kenya to the School of Artillery in Embakasi.
Those are rare opportunities to get. I was deployed in School of Artillery, where I worked for more than 7 years. I left there to go to attend the Defense Staff College. I was promoted to Lieutenant Colonel and posted as a commanding officer.
He also served in numerous United Nations peacekeeping missions in the region and beyond as a trainer. His most notable mission was in 2002 when he served in Ethiopia and Eritrea, where he was instrumental in the introduction of peer education in the military.
I was there for 1 year plus, and that's the time I streamlined peacekeeping standards more so on the training.
He notes some of the challenges he and colleagues faced while in the army, including in battlefields.
When you go and collect your dead, you cannot be the same again. And tomorrow you are taking a gun and going there to fight. You are going to cross with the enemy. The issue is you either get killed or you kill.
Dr. Munyoki is also an author and has published numerous books and journals on the management of HIV and AIDS among uniformed officers.
I lost quite a number of soldiers. A time came when I was burying a soldier every week. It was very effective for me. And I decided to break the silence surrounding HIV and AIDS. The book addresses that being HIV positive is not a death sentence.
He speaks about his passion for writing, observing that they have been a game changer in the management of the disease in the forces.
I put a program addressing HIV and AIDS, and I would invite speakers from UNAs, from Red Cross to come and address the aspect of surrounding HIV and AIDS. When I became the CEO, it was part of Master Parade Talk. Every time we would talk about HIV and AIDS. In 2001, I wrote the first peer education manual addressing HIV and AIDS.
He credits the military for a milestone he has achieved in his life.
I thank the military. It made me who I am. I grew up and gained my experience, leadership skills, management skills, administrative skills, tactics, orientation on how to deal with the various groups of people, different people, character of people.
Since retiring in March of 2023, Munyoki now oversees businesses he has invested both in Naivasha and Machakos counties.
Started in March this year. I found time to relax a bit. Like now I'm doing a bit of construction. I man my hotel, not manning per se, but I spend time to see what is happening, see what workers are doing, move up and down. And that's how I spent most of my time.
He speaks fondly about his pillar of strength, his family.
I have big kids. I have a Lieutenant Colonel like me now, serving the Kenyan Defense Force. I have a doctor, he's serving somewhere in Muranga. And I have a daughter who is serving the company from America, Cotiva. So I live a humble, simple life, and I'm happy.
As a veteran, Munyoki still holds national values close to his heart, urging Kenyans to support the uniformed forces.
Kenyans, let's join hands, love each other, love our nation, because I would say the country comes first. Personal issues, ideas come second.
And with books such as this, his legacy will echo for centuries and will help millions of the Kenya Defense Forces. For military tales from Gilgil in Nakuru County, I'm Ben Troy Njue.
Welcome back. It's now 12 minutes past 7 a.m. Good morning. Welcome back to the program. It's now time for the viewpoint, but right about now, you know how we do it. First of all, we have to take a look at what we have on the front page of our local dailies, as well as the traffic situation on this 27th day of September 2023. I hope you are doing fine. So, let me do you one favor and take you through the traffic situation in our major cities. Let me start with, of course, Nairobi. Let me start with Nairobi. The situation on Thika Road is like this already. Starting from KCA University, already bumper to bumper, coming down to Muthaiga Square, just a mess. That spills over to Kiambu Road, heading towards the Directorate of Criminal Investigations. It's already bumper to bumper. And in fact, on this particular side of the Kiambu Road, it's both sides. That explains the situation along Thika Road. After that, it's moving, coming down to Globe Roundabout and ultimately into the CBD. Western side of the city, all the way from Kangemi down to ABC Place towards Westlands Roundabout, moving pretty fine past Museum Hill there and joining University Way and ultimately into the CBD, moving very much okay. How about Mombasa Road? What Mombasa Road, good morning. So far so good, it looks very good. All the way from Kitengela down to Mlolongo, past Olesereni, coming down all the way to South B, Bellevue, coming to Nyayo National Stadium. Moving pretty fine, and actually you can take the shortest time possible for you to get to the CBD. Langata Road, so far so good. It looks very okay. That is from Langata Road. Uhuru Gardens down to Wilson Airport at the Mbagathi and Langata Road roundabout there, still looking okay. What about Mbagathi Way? Mbagathi Way is also looking pretty fine, upward and downwards towards City Mortuary, all okay. A bit of some traffic just around the City Mortuary roundabout there, but after that it's moving down to Valley Road and into the CBD, moving vizuri sana. Ngong Road looking pretty fine, the entire stretch, apart from around the Kenya Science University campus there and Junction Mall. That's where the traffic is, but that has been occasioned by the traffic lights there. That is also spilling over to Kingara Road, joining James Gishuru and ultimately towards Gitanga Road, moving pretty okay. All right, so that's as far as that's concerned. I'm also told that I should be taking a look at what we have on towards Islando. Yes, Mheshimiwa Gakuya, Embakasi North is not on the map. Nairobi, I can't see the traffic situation on Embakasi North. Or you're nowhere to be seen in the map of Nairobi. I'll take a look at that.
You have no Juja Road and you have no vehicle.
No. Juja Road is here. Juja Road is here. Looking good. Juja Road is looking okay.
Juja Road is okay, we are okay.
Yes. So these are the escape route. If you want to come to town, Juja Road is always a mess, but so far so good. Around Komarok there, well represented, but it's a bit of some traffic. So, watu Embakasi North, mko sawa? All right. No. Juja Road is a mess. Starting all the way from Moi Airbase down to this intersection joining the around St. Teresa there. It's a mess. It's a mess. There, all the way. I believe this side is now the side of Isli. So this side is a mess. Juja Road, you are not lucky, Mosh.
Juja Road, you're not lucky.
You're not lucky. But nonetheless, we have to... All right, let's take a look at what we have in Mombasa. Mombasa, good morning. Nyali Road coming to the CBD, moving pretty fine until you get to Kongowea Market. That's where the traffic situation starts to build up. The new Nyali Bridge is bumper to bumper, gridlock, all in red, coming into the CBD. But after that, past Darajani there, Sabasaba coming to the CBD, Pia Ikosa, but you have to be very much patient with Mombasa. The new Makupa Bridge also moving fine. I think this is one of the blessings that Mombasa received, one of the best gifts that Mombasa received so far. What about the ferry crossing channel? There you have it. Ferry already busy because people have to cross from both sides of the island. So that's as far as that is concerned. And finally, Mheshimiwa Sossion, I promise I'll go to Bomet later on. Later on, Kisumu looking fine. All the way from Kakamega Road down to Kondele into the CBD, Kisumu. So far so good. Outbound towards the international airport. It cannot be just a national airport, international airport. So far so good. That is as far as Kisumu is concerned. Okay. All right, so let me welcome my guest officially now. I'm joined by James Kakuya, who is a member of Parliament of Embakasi North. Mheshimiwa, once again, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Karibu sana. And Mwalimu Wilson Sossion, CAS, and the former NAT Secretary General. Karibu.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, and good morning, our viewers.
Karibu sana. All right, gentlemen, let's hit the road running. So on the front page of the Daily Nation, 100 million shillings dialogue. That's what we have on the front page of the Daily Nation. 100 million shillings dialogue. The cash is to cover allowances, travel, and accommodation. The story says that Kalonzo Ishungwa to be paid 50,000 shillings per sitting as members take home 40,000 shillings per sitting. Kalonzo and Ishungwa to be paid 50,000 shillings per sitting as members take home 40,000 shillings per sitting. So when the Kenya Kwanza and Azimio la Umoja bipartisan talks started, National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah rejected a proposal to hold the talks at a 5-star hotel as he insisted that he insisted on the need to cut costs. But in an ironical twist, the Nation can now reveal the team is seeking 106 million shillings for the 60-day talks, with a big chunk earmarked for allowances and retreats in Naivasha and Mombasa. That's the story that we have here on the front page of the Daily Nation. Mheshimiwa Sossion, let me start with you. What do you make of this?
Yeah, from my labor background,
right,
and as a labor leader of long standing, meetings are always facilitated. And probably if it were done in a 5-star hotel, it could have been at a far much higher cost. Now that it's done at Bomas, and what the media is trying to portray is to paint a negative image on the proceeding. But I don't think there are merits with those lines of argument. We don't expect leaders working under the parliamentary approval and approvals of parliament and of committees. They are always facilitated. That's a fact for sure. So I think the terms and conditions of the meeting have been set out. It's within the agreed standards of parliament, and therefore I see no harm. If Kalonzo Musyoka is paid travel allowance and sitting allowance, that is within the terms and conditions of working within the Parliamentary Service Commission. So to me, I see no harm. I don't think what the media should concentrate most is not how much they are paid in terms of fuel and the rest, and that is modest. But what the media should concentrate most is the product of the process. The media was out very strongly, insisting there must be meetings. Now we've seen the meeting has been allowed, was allowed by the president, and the parties agreed. Now submissions are are being submissions are being received. Yes. I think what is important is the content of the submissions being made rather than what is being paid to the people. I think this business of mob-lynching people, public servants who are working and leaders who are undertaking an important task, to me, that is a non-issue completely. The issue is what is being submitted and what is the final product, according to me. Yeah.
Right. Mheshimiwa Bakwir, what's your take?
One thing is that we must also take note that these talks has no salary at all. And these the members that have constituted this particular panel, actually they are using their own vehicles. So they require fuel. Number two, they waste their days. So they must be considered. Even those board members who does not earn salaries, they earn allowances. And I would say that none of those board members earns less than 20 per day per sitting, and therefore this having been a constituted term of only 60 days, I think I don't argue too much on the amount. But I also by the sentiments of my colleague, panel colleague, that what will matter a lot is the outcome, because what Kenyans need is the result.
Yeah.
If this money, which is only roughly 100 million, can be spent and then the country becomes cool and move on, I think Kenya could have not lost a single coin.
Yeah.
But it will only be painful if that money can be expended and we fail to get a breakthrough at the end. But if we are going to get a result out of it, I think it's a plus to me.
Okay. Yeah. On the front page of the Standard newspaper, thank you for that. Ruto Raila road to referendum. Again, tied to what's happening at the Bomas of Kenya. Ruto Raila road to referendum. As national talks gain momentum, all indications are that many of the reforms proposals touch on constitutional clauses that require a national referendum. What is the cost of taking the country to another plebiscite? And how is it likely to affect the political fortunes of President Ruto and Azimio leader Raila Odinga? Mheshimiwa Asuncion, Ruto Raila road to referendum?
What is a referendum? It is asking the public for an opinion through a vote.
Yes.
As when is necessary. Many countries conduct referendums, and I think the Kenyan parliament, they're trying to pass a referendum bill on how to guide a law that guides referendum on matters of national interest. So a referendum is something that should not scare anybody. It's something that exists in any democracy. If you look at the UK, Scotland was it Scotland that wanted to secede, but through a referendum, and there's nothing the Queen could do, and that is provided for. But eventually, the Scotland voted to remain within the United Kingdom. Brexit in the UK was done through a referendum. It is the power of the people. Referendum is the power of the people. So what is being pointed out is that some of the issues may require a referendum. That's a fact.
Yes.
So if issues require a referendum, then the country will have to decide, should we really go for a referendum? That will be point of decision, because in a democratic space, you don't gag people from advancing interests. So those interests will be advanced. Some of these interests, can it be sorted out through constitutional amendment by Parliament alone? If some can be done within Parliament, so be it. If some can be done within pieces of legislation alone, within Parliament, so be it. But if some will require a referendum, then at that stage, when those issues come to the table, then the country will have to decide what is the cost of a referendum, what are the merits and demerits of a referendum. If you don't do a referendum in certain things, then you may not undertake certain decisions. And I don't think, we must get used to the possibility of referendums every now and then, where there is consensus, and particularly if matters are agreed, and it gets to what we call non-contested referendum. That's where all parties agree. This is okay. It can be done. Like, of course, you say you want the official office of the opposition that is fully funded by the state, and they can appoint shadow cabinet ministers and facilitate it to operate. That's the democracy we want. If it is going to require a referendum, fine. If it doesn't require a referendum and can be finished in parliament, so be it. So what is a referendum? It's an opportunity given to the people to take a vote on key decisions from time to time.
Okay.
And so, according to me, from what I know about referendums and how it has been practiced in various democratic jurisdictions, is an opportunity accorded to the people. It's the power to the people to take certain decisions.
Okay.
But I want to believe that the outcome from the dialogue matters that can only lead to amendment of the Constitution within the National Assembly, amendment of legislation within the National Assembly to facilitate.
Okay.
If we can avoid a referendum, the better.
Let's take a break.
For us as a country now, why? The economy is extremely fragile, and we need to do a lot to bring the economy back.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's take a break. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we're still going to continue with that. Catherine Omanya, who is the Member of Parliament representing the great people of Busia County, already in studio, joining us on set briefly. But right about now, let's take a break. We'll be right back with more. Stay with
take this opportunity to welcome wananchi, citizen voters at Turkana County for Senate Mashinani. This Senate Mashinani, all Senate from Kenya, all the 47 counties will be attending a Senate session in Turkana County. We are very happy as the Senator of Turkana County, because it is a privilege, it is honor for the Senate House leadership to consider Turkana for Senate Mashinani. Because for Senate Mashinani, citizens will be involved in making decisions, in making the fundamental problems they have been encountering in their everyday life. And this Senate Mashinani, with the role of the Senate, that it is representing the citizen making of law and oversight. So that opportunity will be taken to assess, to protect what Turkana is, because people have been hearing of Turkana, reading in the newspapers, seeing on the TVs what Turkana it is. So, as a representative of this area as a Senate, everything in the Senate is well prepared. We are ready. The ground is very ready for the Senate. In terms of facilities, accommodation, halls for trainings, they are very ready.
KBC Channel 1 magazine programs strive to disseminate news and information.
Welcome to Happening in the World of Entertainment
and achievements of individuals navigating through life.
Be part
of the intelligent conversation. Up at KBC Channel 1.
Related to the interest of Kenyan public on various subjects of national importance.
Basi karibu tujifunze.
Keeping you up to date with the latest tech news,
challenges, and remarkable stories of individuals with disabilities.
And you have a say.
Our magazine programs empower communities with words for conversations and a common language to approach the world.
For your infotainment needs, we have a great range of programs.
All right, welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. Okay, continue the discussion here. A bit of some housekeeping. Let me just introduce Catherine Omanyi, who is representing the great county of Busia, joining me in studio already. Mheshimiwa, karibu sana to the show.
Asante.
And she's also the deputy secretary-gen of ODM party. You call that the biggest party in Kenya?
East Africa.
In East Africa?
Yes.
Mheshimiwa Gakuya and Sosion are not going to be happy about that statement, I'm so sure.
They are babies
it's common knowledge.
Babies of ODM.
Numbers don't lie.
Numbers dictate.
Numbers
Yes.
don't lie. And,
okay. How big is ODM as compared to what Mr. Sosion and Gakuya is talking about?
First of all, Honorable Sosion is a baby of ODM. Yes,
okay.
As his astronomical rise to where he is today, to even make somebody say this name must be somewhere. It's because of his nomination.
So he's a member?
And he understands the spectrum well. So he shouldn't be questioning anything to do with ODM.
He decided to build another house.
I was nominated when I was already a brand. But in the facts of political history, if you look at the origin of ODM, was the orange tag of 2005 referendum, which all of us got into that bandwagon of the orange, and then it became the
including
orange
the head of state today.
Including the head of state, yes.
So, but ideally,
so it was Uhuru Kenyatta was in the orange movement. William Ruto was in the orange movement. Everybody was in the orange movement. Kalonzo and everyone else.
Yes.
But prior to 2007, it split into two: Orange Kenya and the other Orange. That's why now we have the ODM and Wiper changed from.
I believe ideally what Mheshimiwa Catherine is talking about
politically, 2007, many of us
he will be crucified on the altar of public opinion.
I can't be crucified.
All I know Mheshimiwa Catherine is trying to say is that you have to respect your ancestral home.
Yes, you cannot
in 2018, when I was in NASA and the nominee of ODM and as a member of ODM party in 2017. And in 2018, after the handshake, NASA changed and the ODM changed and it became an Asimio thing, and I was crucified right inside there by the new entrance, and that is why I had to vacate, and I vacated to a new arrangement of those who had been persecuted to a party called United Democratic Alliance, which is now the largest.
Yes. No. Let me correct you. You might be my senior, but if you get into a place or any platform with that big-headed kind of attitude, you lose it. And that is why now you didn't represent workers as it was supposed to, because you went there knowing you are a big brand. And it's just disappointing. It's good to be grateful, Mheshimiwa.
How can you demonstrate that? How can you be able to?
He has just said that he was nominated when he was already a brand.
Representing workers.
So
the workers never complained.
The workers never complained.
Many times they wanted to sack you. That is part of complaining.
I did my work effectively and above board.
Why did they want you out?
Efficiently.
Because you were not representing them. And two, when you go into a place knowing you are this big,
no,
you are already there.
The coups at NAT was sponsored by Uhuru Kenyatta and his team and the government and whatever, because they felt this man is too strong as a member of parliament representing workers and therefore must be removed. And that's what you should know as the Deputy Secretary General of ODM.
Order members.
No.
That's it.
Order members.
That is why you're out of order.
Order members.
And by the way,
Mheshimiwa Sossion, you are out of order.
I'm not out of order.
Thank you, Mr.
When I'm prosecuted by a Deputy Secretary General of a party unfairly, or said, allow me to defend myself. I've got the right to report. And anyway, we are not here to discuss.
You added wrinkles on teachers. They put you there and were sure that you will actually represent them. But they got older and older, and that's why they wanted you out.
Okay.
See how now they're
you're a stranger in Jerusalem. Most of what teachers earn today, most of what teachers earn today is what I struggle for, what I deliver. And when I exited, through the handshake regime, because the handshake regime was Uhuru, whom I was running away from for being anti-labor, came and ran the show and was allowed to neuter the union. That was one of the agreements, neuter the union. We cannot have Sossion as SG in 2022 when you're going to elections. So we must evict him. Those are political facts, and she doesn't know she's innocent, and that is why
I look at both sides of the spectrum.
Can we have this discussion?
At my exit, after I exited,
before we took a break,
that has been going on within that space.
Let us proceed.
Let's proceed. Okay, I know this is going to take a long process, but Mheshimiwa Omanyo, karibu sana. We were taking a look at what we have on the front page, just for the sake of fairness. On the front page of the Daily Nation, 100 million shillings dialogue. That is what's covered there on the front page of the Daily Nation. Cash to cover allowances, travel and accommodation. This is as far as the bipartisan talks is concerned at the Bomas of Kenya. What do you make of this headline, 100 million shillings dialogue? Go ahead.
Oh,
it's your time.
Yes, go ahead. Right.
Yes, actually we are committed to the core for these talks to bring fruit, because if you take the temperature of Kenyans today, we seem to not even understand, both the government side and our side. We are desperate to settle. We are desperate to be united, because as we speak now, the divide is growing wider because of some irresponsible leaders in our country who are chest thumping and watering down the foundation, or weakening the foundation of these talks. They might be maybe egocentric and are not even interested anyway if it succeeds or not. But Kenyans want this to be done and fruits to be seen. We want to be peaceful so we can try to juggle to live, because at the moment people are not living like we should have. Being 60 years and above after independence, today Kenya should be somewhere above there, like other nations that are developed. But we are still like struggling because of whatever happens after every elections. So in this bipartisan talks, all that we can do and afford, both sides, government and Azimio side, is to come out with a real bouncing baby. And this baby should give hope to Kenyans.
That clearly tells what Mheshimiwa Sossion and Gakuya talked about, is that what now the focus should be is the result, the outcome of that particular talk. On the front page of the Standard, Ruto Raila road to referendum, again tied to what's happening at the Bomas of Kenya. It seems that some of the proposals and the constitutional clauses presented to the team will require referendum. What do you make of this headline, Ruto Raila road to referendum?
Yeah, Kenyans must also have a say in it. And the silent majority need the truth to come out. And for them also to be felt, they must participate. We are ready to take that way, that route, if it it is okay. But it is important that this office of the opposition leader be created, and the cabinet ministers, whatever shadow, to be there, so that sometimes, truly, if the winner has been snatched, their victory, but they have a say in decision making, in development, you know, of the nation, it calms down a lot. Because if you look at how Baba has been treated since 2007, it actually can make some of us leaders worry, like younger upcoming leaders. Is it even necessary to campaign, to have these beautiful ideologies, if at the end of the day somebody with muscle, money, thorax will come and just take it, you know? So we need to harmonize, because Kenya is ours. We are here to build our country and can't allow it to go, you know, to the brink. So actually, if we are all sober enough without pulling and pushing neck to neck tags, we need to be looking into how do we bring together our country, our people.
All right.
Yeah.
Mushogokuya, before you took a break, I think it was also your time. You can chime on this on the front page of the Standard.
One, we must consider two levels of these talks. One, we cannot wait with a vacuum until this matter moves to a referendum. Referendum is a long process. Also, it requires budget, because it is not too bob to manage a referendum. The referendum means it's an election, because obviously it consists a budget that is equivalent to a run of a presidential election. And in this case, remember, it is ballot. So referendum is casting votes. So you are telling the whole Republic of Kenya to move back to a certain election where they cast votes to determine the next move of their country. And therefore, budget is key too. Number two is that we must distinguish in these talks what is required for now. And that food should be prepared so that Kenya cannot be any longer in an embargo or a quagmire, and especially in the creation of IBC. That's an element that cannot wait. It requires to be fixed like tomorrow, so that we don't have that vacuum. We have constituencies that actually we have lost a member, like Banisa, and those Kenyans are suffering without a representative. We have MCAs who have also exited. We require replacement of this, so that those people, those particular represented those areas, can also have representatives. So that's a matter that don't require that long decision whether there will be referendum or not. It's a matter that doesn't require referendum, so that has to be sorted. Number two, I am not against those weighty matters that might not fit in what we call Parliamentary Act, where the Parliament cannot cast a decision on it. The Constitution is very clear. It has given a room where you can propel a process through Parliament. And those powers are there. There are those clauses that you cannot touch. Like one, you cannot change the structure of the government without moving back to the referendum. You cannot alter the 290 constituencies. The constitution is very clear. It shall be 290 constituencies. So to amend those constituencies, you must require a referendum. So if we are going to touch any constituency in terms of expanding, we must require approval of the people of Kenya. So that will require a referendum. So in this case, there is the long terms and short terms. The short terms are those matters that we must fix now. Then the other proposals, if we are going to have a referendum, we must open these bilateral talks to a bigger level, where those other views that we feel other regions of Kenya require some to also take part in this should also get
how do you open the talks?
Because one, the committee which is on, if there are matters that must require referendum, it cannot be piecemeal. Then we must allow Kenyans to float their memorandums in areas that they feel that actually it's necessary to be looked into that element of referendum. Because it does not mean that one thing is that actually there are those areas that were given key to form these particular discussions. Then we must remove that barrier. And allow Kenyans now to flow with their proposals, so that as they consider referendum, it cannot be considered piecemeal. It has to be called a wider. Because
with questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that those areas, like us, we know there is that element that we know in terms of representation. There is an element that is not clear. We must also seek for what we call one man, one vote. That is an area that also we need to be considered in terms we need to move to that direction. In representation, you require that population is not equal in this country. We have constituencies that are represented with 25,000 number of Kenyans. We have other constituencies that has as much as 120 voters and above. We need to decrease this. Which formula do you use? Should we extend the number of constituencies, or should we now empower a single vote to represent equivalent to those other agreed levels? So there are elements that also require such kind of decision. In that, if the time is now, and if the constitutional change time has come, then a referendum must open doors to others, so that the other views of Kenya can be also inserted to the process.
Thank you.
Yes, I think we can't rule out possibility of certain outcomes of the talks requiring a referendum. But there are a number of things that we need to look at. One, who conducts a referendum? The referendum is conducted by Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. The delimitation of boundaries and review of boundaries is conducted by Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission.
Right.
So right now, we don't have a chair of IEBC, and we don't have commissioners of IEBC. We have got two constituencies without members of parliament, and those the by-elections can only be conducted by an IEBC in place. So I think the most immediate thing, two key things here, or three. One is agreement on reconstitution of IEBC, so that once the IEBC is in place, the other items can fall in place. Like audit of 2022 election, the audit of 2022 election cannot be conducted by any other entity other than the legal entity of IEBC. They've always done it after every election. If that's one item, the delimitation of boundaries, and of course, the possibility of preparing for a referendum, if that will be necessary. So those are things that definitely will fall in place once these talks give us fruits. So the most immediate fruit that we need to see is proper constitution of IEBC at the earliest opportunity possible, so that then the operation of IEBC in terms of the different functions can occur. There is a question, and I'm happy when it comes from the Secretary General of the party.
Secretary General.
Yeah, of course, when you are here, you are as good as Secretary General.
Thank you for promotion.
But that one, you know, I'm very kind. There is need to establish the office of the official opposition, and even they have the shadow cabinet ministers facilitated to operate, because this is a democracy to check government, and that agrees very strongly with the presidential memorandum to the two speakers of the House, that the speakers at the two houses should consider establishment of the office of the official opposition.
Right.
That will be occupied by the run-up in any presidential election. And our elections are above board, numbers are clear. If you are number two in any election, then you occupy. You become the official leader of the opposition, and you check government in a structured and organized manner. Then we have a democracy that is balanced. And this we are borrowing from the British culture. And, you know, we've grown from the British culture, where the office of the official opposition is an alternative government in waiting, and it checks government. And that is orderly democracy that we need, so that people don't use options of going to the streets, of using other unconstitutional means to voice themselves. We can have structured and civilized way of working and governance. And once we have political stability through that arrangement, then we can have a stable economy, and we can achieve our development at a faster rate. So to me, those are two key things: IBC the fate of the office of the official leader of the opposition, among other issues.
Yes.
Like entrenching CDF in the constitution, the oversight fund, the two-third gender rule. We cannot be talking about how to implement two-third gender rule 13 years after promulgation of a constitution. These are things that we need to clear them now and now. And if all this can be concluded through a constitutional amendment within the National Assembly without a referendum, so be it. It will be good enough for the country. So I would like to believe that it can be done.
Non-contested?
When it is non-contested, it means it is popular. It's agreed across board. When the agreement across board and it becomes non-contested, then it means you spare the country of strife. You spare the citizens. You organize the citizens. In politics, it's about organizing the citizens. So if parties can agree, are unanimous about certain all the outcomes from that arrangement, and it is unanimous within the party structures that exist within the country, then that is what we call a non-contested. And I think if you talk to lawyers, they will tell you items that are non-contested become extremely popular. And if they stick to the presence of amending the constitution within the National Assembly, so the better. This was done in 2008 in creation of the Grand Coalition government. The minimum constitutional amendment to establish the office of the Prime Minister in 2008, that was done through Parliament. Through Parliament.
Right.
And that was done. The country became stable. We've moved on, and we are one of the most.
Actually, IPPG still.
We are one of the. We are one of the most civilized democracies in the world. That we allow citizens to participate and organize themselves. And I don't think, if there are real issues within this time and these negotiations, they can be sorted out amicably. So I believe that is the purpose of this dialogue.
I would like just to top up. We have seen mostly when somebody wins dubiously, they go to start buying the opposition people on the other side so they can be on this side, because they fear being put on toes to do right. If we have this well-structured, the office of opposition leader well-structured, then killing the opposition will not be easy, because they'll have a real role in the constitution, and people will know, even if we are on this side, we still have a task. Because when recently, 2022, when people were going to State House, people who are from Azimio going to State House, it's actually weakening the other side. So we go back to, you know, I don't know what language to use, but we go back to those times when there was no democracy. And if anybody rose up and tried to express themselves freely,
the years of one
threats come in, murder, you know, and people would shut up and just listen to one person or a few. So at the moment where we are in Kenya, we shouldn't be even begging for some of these positions. The time when Kibaki said handshake, that is the time we could have sealed this once and for all. But we are still stuck here because of some few arrogant, egocentric people who say this is our time to eat, and, you know, focus on maybe one or two tribes, and say when we start, we said our tribe will have this and our tribe will have this. I only understand of one tribe, Kenyans. And I know if we have a strong opposition, we will not be having, sometimes when employment comes, you see that institution having just two tribes dominating the jobs. We will be checking every institution, how many people, minorities, people living with disabilities, you know, women, who have you taken from Busia, who have you taken from Turkana? That way, Kenya will be not feeling the way.
What do you support? Do you support the creation of the office of the official opposition leader? Do you support that?
I do. I do, because I see beyond today. One day, the same people thinking they are now in power and can step on anyone will be now in opposition. How will they feel when they are treated the way they are treating others today? Yeah. So anytime you come up with decisions as a leader, remember that one time you'll be on the other side of the spectrum. And how will you want to be treated then? So I'm today in the opposition, but I'm seeing myself in government one day. And I wouldn't, even if it is put on the record today, I will not treat the people in the opposition the way we have seen people treating others in this regime. Actually, Kenya Kwanza government started on the wrong foot. If you watch Ichungwa talk, Gachagua talk, you want to puke. Because what will my daughter, my great-grandchildren say when they listen to such characters? I don't know who they represent, but it is arrogance, and Kenyans are sick to the back teeth with such leaders coming out and just stamping. We want solutions once and for all to put Kenya again back to where we were. There was a time if I traveled around East Africa and Central Africa, people would really love to come. They would be like saying if they come to Kenya or Nairobi, they call Nairobi New York.
That's still the truth.
But today, it's dwindling.
That's still the situation.
Why are investors running to Tanzania and going to Rwanda and not Kenya? Because of such leadership. It's actually, we need to change. Okay. And both sides of leadership must be responsible.
Right. Okay, Mheshimiwa Gakuya, are we acting, whatever is happening at the BBI, is it a BBI or bipartisan talks? Because it seems that a majority of one and twos that are in the bipartisan talks are borrowed from the BBI.
That's why I alluded that if it has aligned the constitutional movement, then it is the same BBI we are now reviving on another name. And even personally, I cannot say that BBI was long entirely. It's only that there were some clauses inserted in BBI which made it rotten, but not the whole concept of BBI. That was wrong. So there are still good things, and I can tell you 75% of BBI, it was correct. But once there is a rotten...
75%, but you're part of the team that campaigned...
of course, right. Because the rotten ones were major, and therefore you couldn't allow the whole BBI to see the light of the day. And that's why it was watered down. I would say that if this movement is back, what matter is now the goodwill, and the goodwill is, yes, the government should prepare for that budget towards that direction. If both sides feel that the time is now, because bilateral means it is both sides. Yes. And if both sides agrees and find it correct that this is a time, I would say Kenyans have no choice. They are the taxpayers. The money to go to referendum belongs not to anybody. It belongs to taxpayers. If Kenyans feel that it is a constitutional movement, personally, I have no problem about that. But I would allude in one thing, that let us not always be condemning members who at least goes or takes time to visit a president. Because we have a nation, and this nation has only one president. It does not mean it is a crime when a member from a different party makes a visit to a president of the state. It happens worldwide. It's not only Kenya. That democracy we are talking about does not curtail such times to reason together or visit a president if you belong to another party. So we cannot have parties, even though tomorrow I'll be in opposition. I cannot allow a party that will demonize me, that I have no room, I have no democracy to associate with the head of state.
I would love to say something.
Otherwise, at the end of the day, even though we have an official leader of opposition, the official leader of opposition may not be capable maybe to sort some problems that actually the head of state sorts, because the powers of the president are totally different with the powers of that office of the official leader.
Okay.
And there's a time it is not necessarily that you are moving to see the president because of handouts. It is not necessarily because you are going to see the president, because actually the constitution has also enabled how the resources can be changed to the constituency and the counties and all over. But there are those other issues that a member feels can be dealt with by the head of state. And in the end, there is no any criminality on that.
Okay.
Number two, we cannot sit. No, number two, let us agree. Right. We should not be at this point to say members who decided to close the bar. There is what we call Political Parties Act. It has the way and the powers of these political parties. They know what they can do best in case a member becomes a law. And that's so you cannot blame the president because of fishing. If the president feels that he can negotiate with 1, 2, 3, then the power to decide is for the member. Okay. And then the member...
But the law also stipulates clearly what they should do in such a situation.
In this case, who is wrong?
Okay.
Is it the one who fishes or the one who is fished?
Okay. Hold, Mheshimiwa, just one minute.
I think in this political matter, and I think it was triggered by the Honorable Women Representative of Busia County. The happenings before elections and after elections. If we can be candid, how Azimio coalition was created was a little bit undemocratic. Some parties were forced, and that is why you saw eventually certain groups worked out of Azimio arrangement, the Mandeleo Chap, the UPP, and several others. And ANC, Ford Kenya worked out of that arrangement, and another coalition was formed. I want to remind every Kenyan, Article 38 of the Constitution on political rights. People are free to exercise their political right as and when. If this minute I am called by any other leader outside my party, I have that freedom of association to go and take tea. Nobody will question me. I don't think anybody will question me. Nobody. If Honorable Kaguya can go and have lunch today with Raila Odinga, that's a good thing.
Of course.
I don't think we are going to demonize him. There is what you call freedom of association in Kenya. That will build over time. It's a civilized way. Honorable Mase can go and take tea instead of that. Should not be news. With the president, it should not be news. So now that is one. I've underscored the issue of political rights provided in the Constitution and also freedom of association. Now, post-election, there are many parties that moved and engaged in post-election agreements with Kenya Kwanza administration. One of them is UP, this party of Northern Frontier, and very many of them moved in. The Jubilee Party, almost all the members of parliament moved in, and we have seen it is public knowledge, and it is within the law, within the constitution, and within the confines of giving people freedom. So what is freedom meant for if you can't? Now, these are the group of members of parliament from ODM. There are about 8 or 9 of them engaging directly with the president. And the president, the moment he was sworn in as the president, he ceased being the president of a party, the president of the Republic of Kenya. And he can engage citizen number 1 to the last citizen of this country. So, and that is a practice we need to set so that any time we have a president, that president can engage any citizen.
And that's why I'm saying.
I think we must distinguish
let us be
party loyalty and from relationship with individuals and with government, like what happened with the members of parliament of ODM. And that is right, fair, and that's why we must allow it. Kalonzo Musyoka the other day was in for a dinner party at State House. That's okay.
The only problem that I question is how these people behave
humiliation and party dictatorship.
The visit. No, it's not dictatorship.
Humiliation and party dictatorship should be kicked out of Kenya.
Okay, let me just ask.
You must exercise your right.
Why should
you have quoted certain members of parliament here and you are calling them names. I think you are all honorable members of parliament and you should be able to relate and engage in a civilized and orderly manner that satisfies the citizen. You cannot engage in imaginary
words. He doesn't want me to talk. He wants to talk.
Go ahead now.
The truth is, going to State House or any other office is not a problem. The only problem is the hidden agenda. I have these colleagues who are so good, free, they could talk and we discussed issues, how we can build Kenya. But immediately they visited some people, they are deflated. It's like, yes, drive in my compound, but driving out, your tires are deflated. They can no longer be themselves. There is something they have gone and given an oath to that sometimes they sit on this side, sometimes they sit on this side. It's like when they want to talk, they look left, they look right, and they say, don't quote me. So you just know, so it wasn't just a visit to the president. It was something else. Yes, somebody told me we just go. I thought it was going to just be maybe tea and then we walk out, but then things didn't.
Why can't you try to?
So
but I also remember
anyone can visit anyone. But what is?
I also remember
what is
countrymen representatives. You're also called in State House.
Yeah, but I didn't go. I chose not to go. I could have gone even tomorrow. I can go.
But all the country
but that now is a choice.
It depends with my principles. So what I'm saying, don't use any methods to silence people as a leader anywhere, be it a village elder or a president. Be comfortable to be criticized. Be comfortable to be panel beaten and be ready for challenges, because we don't go into politics to be comfortable. We go in politics knowing very well that it's like jumping from a frying pan into the fire, but still holding on to lead people in the vision that we had. But at the moment we have a tunnel vision in State House. Why should the president not be so comfortable to know that he's the president and welcome warmly both sides of the divide and listen to both sides of the divide and say, let me pick this and that, because it is actually talking to the grassroots up, because that's what you stand for, bottom up. But now calling other people and making sure that when voting comes, those people who visited you must vote the way you want, and that is what happens in parliament. So what democracy is that? If I come to visit you and you tell me, because now we are talking, if I say left, it is left.
Voting,
it has
voting
to be
in parliament.
Be free.
I think
we are friends, but you are free to choose.
Voting in parliament, you can get advice from the political party, but at the end of the day, you vote according to your conscience, because you represent your constituency. There are many members of parliament who have defied the party line. We have done so in the past. And so you cannot create slaves out of elected people's representatives.
That
elected
is what your side does. You
should
create
be given
slaves,
freedom.
they can't express themselves, they can't talk, they can't
let me put
you know you can't see from your side. And trying to demonize these members of parliament who have been engaging directly with the president is not right.
Who is going to benefit out of this bipartisan talks? Because from what it looks like, it's a BBI dressed in a certain kind of an outfit altogether. Mheshimiwa Gakuya, who is set to benefit and who is set to lose? Don't tell me Kenyans.
Number one.
Don't tell me Kenyans.
Number one, I'll start by saying it is Kenyans, whether you like it or not. Because whatever was addressed in the BBI, the BBI, it has the drivers, which were one, the former president, and now the official position, no, we can call him the official position leader, though the position is not there. Currently, we have the minority and majority. But I would say, I don't call it a BBI because it is only that the ends will be borrowed from what proposals were in the BBI, which were good to Kenyans. So at the end of the day, it is Kenyans who will benefit out of it. Yes, let us not say that it's a single individual politician that will benefit. Because one, the success of what we call a transformation of a kind, if now we can have one, a breakthrough of the current problems they are facing, if we can solve them at the end and have a breakthrough, then who benefits? It is the country, and to the betterment of the country. What is the country? Country are the citizens of the country, because the country is the people. And therefore, if there is a success in this, it is the people of Kenya who will benefit. I would say, yes, you would like to tell me that it is Raila Odinga who will benefit and his team, because he was part of the process, but I can tell you it is not himself. It is Kenyans who will benefit out of it.
Okay.
Not everything that will be borrowed, and that is going to see the light of the day. Even new proposals will come in, and there's a combine of the views to create what is in vacuum.
Mheshimiwa Sossion, is a referendum quite popular right now, as you speak? Are we ready as a nation for a referendum?
Well, whether it's popular or not, it depends on the issues of the moment, matters in question. And if we can go back to the BBI, there were a lot of disagreement, and there was acrimony. There was acrimony during the BBI process, and a lot of deceits and lies were transacted in that process, and it was very divisive, and that is why it died. Despite the referendum bill being voted for unanimously at the National Assembly, it was thrown out by the Supreme Court because of procedural issues and questions. And if from these conversations that are ongoing, and I don't want to call it BBI that is clothed differently, BBI was conducted under a different political ecosystems with certain objectives, and it seemed it was tailored to humiliate certain individuals. It was individualized, and that was the biggest mistake. If from these conversations it becomes inevitable that there is a referendum, that is, the people of Kenya shall be required to make a decision, then the referendum questions shall be framed. And once the referendum questions are framed, the referendum bill shall be prepared. And once IBC is in place, then it is IBC that will prepare for that referendum. In the growth of democracy, allowing people to vote is the best way of bringing people together and resolving fundamental issues that affect the people. If you look at the history of elections in Kenya, from ECK, from earlier on up to now, IBC, a lot of resources have gone into that body, and the work being done by that body is so enormous, up to even digitization. It will come a time that Kenyans will vote and work on a voting day. It is possible, because now we are reducing tension, we are closing ranks, and we are agreeing on issues. For me, I don't want to predict that there will be a referendum. But if it reaches that time that there will be a referendum, out of these talks, the way I see it, it will be a non-contested referendum that will be agreed unanimously. Yes, and if it becomes inevitable that it be done, then definitely there will be a line budget. There will be all those processes, and Kenyans will cast their votes if it will be necessary. But as far as I am concerned, considering the economy and many things, is it possible that any constitutional amendments can be done within Parliament and is finished within the confines of Parliament to spare the agony?
The idea of BBI was good, and Mheshimiwa Gakuiwa is very right. There are dabs in it that were sweet, were good, and were focused to enable any Kenyan of any caliber, from any niche, to benefit. And also in the leadership, there was going to be a lot of harmony. And if we take that and seal it today, there will be a lot of change and progress in Kenya. So however much sometimes we are in these divides, but we look into what really would have put us together as Kenyans, and what really could have mended and healed our wounds. So many people have hidden wounds and scars that they do not want even to revisit or talk about some of incidences that have happened after elections. Usually we have heated elections and highly competitive, times during elections, and it seems we always have, one side and the other side that is more popular, but unfortunately the side that is more popular and is seen to be winning doesn't win. Yeah. But with BBI strategy, I think it is going to harmonize that, so that if you truly you love Kenya, even if you become number 2, you will not be insisting to be 1, because you will be somewhere to still be a servant leader. Yeah.
All right. I want to make a small light.
Kindly.
That one, there was an element where there was an expansion of executive, and it was attack. But today, none of the sides could say that is wrong, because even today, the current regime, it have a chief minister. In that particular form, it means to create back the position of prime minister. It cannot have a big division. It is like, yes, both sides can agree. We expand the executive in order also now to make those other regions at least feel to be part of the government. But one thing is that the way it was created then, it was wrong, because it was advocating that now the head of state has the power to appoint the prime minister from the floor of the house, from the majority. That's wrong, because I believe we cannot create an official opposition leader and then we make a decision to who will take the mantle of the prime minister from the floor of the house, from either divide. It has to be very clear that the government belongs to this and the opposition belongs here. So they can both have their own room. And that's it. Okay. So the current situation where we have a chief minister, I think that's what even tomorrow we are going to amend this to insert this. It should be the prime minister should belong to the ruling.
Okay.
Period.
I'm also reminded to ask you as we come to a close: is there a split in the ruling coalition?
Come again?
Some sense of disquiet in the ruling coalition.
Again?
Is there disquiet, a split in the Kenya Kwanza government?
One thing, let me say that there is no split in the Kenya Kwanza government.
Disquiet?
One thing is that, in fact, people might fuel to have those kind of smokes, but they are not there.
They're not there.
But you can hear maybe a few members there shouting, making noise there. But initially, the country is under the leadership of one William Samoei Ruto and his deputy, and that other team which is there. And if that team is not in what we call friction, then the rest should tow.
Mheshimiwa, you want to go to status? Mheshimiwa Gakuya can give you a link.
Not at the moment, because they have 18 different directions. We don't know which one they are up to, and that is why they have a problem there. Right. But I can calm them a little if I go there.
Okay. All right. Allow me to end at that particular point. Thank you so much. Mheshimiwa Sosion, it seems you have something to add.
Yeah, I think you've asked a fundamental question. In Kenya Kwanza,
if you see the Kenya Kwanza, then no, I'm out of order right now.
There is a lot of internal democracy, a lot of it, and so
in Kenya
there's
Kwanza?
no split. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's quite unique. All right, Mheshimiwa Sosion, thank you so much for joining us. And Catherine Omanyo, asante sana for coming to the show and representing the great people of Busia County. Please tell them that tuko sawa pamoja hapa CBD.
I love Busia. I'll do anything for Busia.
Absolutely. Asante sana. Gakuya, James is representing the great people of Embakasi North. Thank you too for coming over to the show. And you know what? You as the viewer, we appreciate you for your valid company. Thank you for joining us. I'm Victor Lowe. Have a good morning. Bye-bye.
Kwa furaha jamani. Hili si swala la umri Kate. Hili ni swala la wewe kujitambua mahali pako haswa katika nyumba hii ni wapi.
Nipatie shughuli tu au tafute mtu mwingine akoe. Lakini tambua kwamba Laban ni mume wangu.
Abel will never be my son. Kate amehama humu ndani. Sasa ziko kule juu kwa Mama Lea.
Stop caring and worrying about my husband. Huyo ni wangu mimi. Angalia kwako. Usipokuwa makini. Hapa pana hatari kubwa sana.
The Senate will hold its sittings dubbed Senate Mashinani, Turkana County from 25th to 29th September 2023. This is in line with Article 126 of the Constitution that allows a sitting of either House of Parliament to be held at any place within Kenya and at any time that the House appoints. The sittings will highlight the critical role the Senate plays in the interlinkage between the national and county levels of government and enhance the interaction between the Senate and county government as a means of bringing the Senate closer to the counties and the general public. The sittings will promote the role and work of the Senate and enhance public awareness regarding the business of the Senate and Parliament in general. Senate Mashinani will also highlight existing and new opportunities in the legislative process besides developing capacity and strengthening partnership at the county level of government. The Senate invites members of the public to meet and interact with their senators and follow deliberations of the Senate during the sittings. The scenic cradle of mankind, reincarnated to play cradle to devolution. Senate Mashinani welcomes you home.
Dr. Otero almost died because of your negligence. But that was an accident. That was... In this hospital, we don't accept those accidents.
We are going to find out together what exactly happened to you that night.
When that Hannibal leaves, tell me at once. Royal plans. So I can put my plan into action.
Hannibal, if you've been unfaithful or not, I beg you, tell me.
Isabel! What do you mean your brother was shot?
What?
So how is Danielle?
I don't know, Dad. I had to leave him there because Isabel had an asthma attack.
What's going on?
You left him there?
I already called an ambulance.
Welcome back to Good Morning Kenya. Now from matters politics, we get into a different discussion, and that is corruption prevention in the country. What are the strategies that we are putting in place to ensure that we bring this fight to an end? You know, we bring the fight to corruption to an end, whereby we get to a place where we are a corruption-free country. What is working, what is not, what is yet to be implemented in this fight against corruption. Now joining me on this particular discussion is Mr. Mohamud. Mr. Mohamud, just a moment, sorry about that, is Mr. Mohamud Abdi, who is the Education and Public Awareness Officer at the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. He is an officer at the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, and he is here to just let us know what measures have they put in place as the EACC to ensure that we fight this menace that is corruption. Welcome to the program, Mr. Mohamud.
Thank you very much, Vivian. And first, I'd like to thank the studio and KBC for giving us the opportunity to at least articulate and discuss this matter. First, the other issue is the Commission has really launched its strategic plan, third strategic plan for 2023 to 2027 yesterday at KICC. And it has really revamped and relooked at or rethought about its strategies. And it has really come up with learning from the lessons that we have learned for the last 5 years to come and revamp our strategies in the fight against corruption. So we are really doing well, and it is our hope and aspiration that we really implement those strategies together with the Kenyans, and it is a call to collective action that every Kenyan should take the responsibility to make sure that at least these bad manners, I call corruption bad manners.
It is bad manners.
Yes, is really stemmed by everybody. And that is our aspiration.
All right. Before we get into the launch that happened yesterday at KICC, where exactly are we as a country in this fight?
Yeah, thank you. As a commission, I would like us to really focus on where were we, for example. That is the main issue that we need to really discuss, and where are we now? And one thing that we need to really appreciate is that at least we have high level, and that's a very big opportunity, public discourse and public awareness on this issue. That the public are very much aware, and they're really ready to really discuss, whether in the social media or even in the main media, or even anywhere, even in the streets, about the issues of governance. And that's a very good thing, though I think we have not really gone to the level we require, because we need to have a very robust public discussion or public discourse, especially on issues of public policy. On the issue of our part, I think for the last 5 years we have really made quite a substantive improvement. If you look at, for example, the records that we have, and that's the assessment, we call it self-assessment, is that we did quite a good number of recoveries. We can talk about recovery of assets that were really looted, that we recovered worth around 28 billion Kenya shillings. We're talking about losses that we really averted through what we call proactive disruptions, close to around 39 billion shillings. We have over 40 billion worth of assets that are currently ongoing and in courts, which we have really, we want them to be recovered, or that are set for recovery. We have really preserved assets in terms of money and property worth 15 billion. We preserved for purpose of recovery. We have really done around 752 files in the last 5 years, and we have taken them to the DPP. Almost 80% of that recommended for prosecution. So at least if you look at from that statistics, we can say the last 5 years was one of a very big improvement compared to what we were before. And of course, other issues are really coming, issues of strengthening the laws, issues of having public engagement, or what you call the collective action. And if you look at, just to give you a snapshot of our strategic plan, our strategic focus is of 4 issues. One is what we call high impact investigations. Of course, Kenyans really ask this question very much. Are you investigating the big fish, etc.? These are questions that are very common. But what we are saying is high impact in our case means there are cases of high public interest, cases involving people of high, positions of influence, and cases that are immediate and they need to be given priority. That's high impact cases. And they really involve huge sums of money, of course. Second is what we call asset recovery, asset tracing and recovery. The rationale is that people engage in corruption because of the proceeds, or what we call the favors or the benefit or the advantage they really accrue from those corrupt practices. So what we are saying is corruption should not be an avenue should not be an enterprise. In other words, you should really nip and try to really make sure that those motivations are killed by trying to really make recoveries, and that's another focus. Thirdly, is about prevention and public education and public awareness. Call for the people to strengthen systems, what you call institutional systems. And lastly is partnership and collaborations, which we are really doing. We do with all actors in governance, whether it's the media, whether it's social, what you call civil service, civil society organizations, and other institutions or stakeholders. So those are the focus. So if you ask me that question of where are we, that is where we came from. That's how our statistics or numbers are, and this is where we are going. So where we are going is really defined by that specific document we launched yesterday, which is the strategic plan for the Commission 2023 to 2027.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I want to go back to the fact of bringing to book individuals who hold high offices. What is the Commission doing concerning that? Because we know that this is a cry that many Kenyans, have, where they talk about, we are not seeing people in some of these top offices being brought to book, even when we know that they have corruption cases.
Okay, so, thank you. I think these are questions that has been there, and we have been asked several times. And the good thing is our CEO was even there in the media, saying and really articulating it and telling Kenyans that indeed we have a number of governors whom we have cases pending, for example. Are you together? And these are people who are, in our view, who are these guys we are calling high, what do you call, people of high profile. They're high profile. And that's why we said our strategic focus is high impact investigations. And high impact investigations I have really defined and said they have people of high positions, they have substantial amount of money involved, and it is of high public interest. So you see already our focus is there. And by the way, if you ask yourself, Vivian, in the last 10 years, we never had an issue where a cabinet secretary or a governor could have been, Kenyans have never thought about will be indicted or will be taken to even be invited to record a statement on issues of misuse of his office or abuse of office or corruption-related allegations. So that is a very, very important thing. And I think we are really making those steps. In fact, if you look at the statistics from when this institution was started up now, I think we are really doing a very, very tremendous job. The only issue we require now is that, of course, political goodwill, which is very important, and I've really captured that very well in my introductory statement, and of course, the backing of the Kenyans, the citizen awareness. The citizens should really know what is their role in trying to instill and enhance good governance in this country.
Yeah.
And that is a very important thing. Thank you.
It is also alleged that the country loses millions of shillings each and every day to corruption. How true is that?
Unless or otherwise, maybe you give me specific authoritative figures. They are there. In fact, what we are talking about here is are we really saying we don't have allegations? There are allegations. So, but what we are saying is, who are these people who are doing this? In fact, the question that we need to ask ourselves, Vivian, is who are these people who are really doing this, who are making, the public fleece the public money? And that is why our focus should be, are people who are entrusted with public positions taking their public responsibilities the way they are required? And that is the question we need to ask ourselves, is that what is the cause of this? And the cause of this, if you ask me, of course, as a person who have been in the field for some time, is the kind of person you have even put there. How do we really appoint or elect a person in office who is not taking responsibilities as required? Do we really take very good care of us, of duty of care, before we really give somebody a position? That's one thing. Do we have better systems? Do you have stronger systems of checks and balances? Do you have stronger systems where people can really go and confidently seek service without being told to, demanding for, or maybe somebody demanding for bribes? Do you have systems that really work for Kenyans? And I think that is the question that we need to really focus on the preventive side.
Yeah.
Why must we really lose money and use efforts to really make sure we recover that money or try to punish the culprits?
Yeah.
Of course, we cannot really continue impunity to work. But the question, Vivian, we need to ask ourselves this morning to Kenyans is that how can everybody take his or her responsibility to make sure that this country works for us, the county government work for us, public institutions work for the Kenyans, and we have well executed and well, placed systems that we can confidently say that it is really working for the aspirations of Kenyans. And I think that should be the focus. That's why we say prevention is better than cure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And still
though I also really agree, that sometimes when you punish a wrongdoer, it is a deterrent. It works. It works as a prevention. But here we are saying is the element of punishing a wrong person or trying to really make sure that impunity does not pay can only work as a preventive tool if two things are there. One is the certainty of punishment, that somebody knows that whenever he's caught, whenever he does something, it is 100% sure that he will be caught.
Be punished.
And second is the punishment is prompt, and you will see that the case will be done or concluded in a very shortest time possible, and you'll be punished.
Yeah.
Those are the two. And unfortunately, you know what is happening in our justice system, and of course that's how our justice system is crafted. It may take some time for a case to be done. Sometimes people may not even volunteer information. Sometimes you may find yourself that Kenyans don't want even to report or to really give specific information that are very critical. So what we are saying is, can we focus on systems that are stronger so that we prevent those things happening? That we can deter and detect those things before it happens. That is why I'm quoting here and said, the amount of money we recovered and the amount of losses we averted are not equal. We averted losses in the 5 years equivalent to 39 billion Kenya shillings through the proactive preventive means of disruption. But we recovered around 28 billion shillings, which is now through the rigors of court procedures and recoveries that are instituted. So I think the focus now should be, how can we prevent?
Yeah.
How can we prevent? And if every public institution and a public officer and the Kenyans themselves take their duty to make sure that we do the right thing all the time, and we take our leaders and people in positions seek accountability or demand for accountability, then we will have something or the country working for us, and we will reduce these elements of corruption and bad manners that we are really experiencing.
I get you on that. And how do we make sure that these systems are working? How do we go about ensuring that these systems are working? Because we've seen it gets to a point where we have CSs, storming offices and institutions impromptu, unannounced, in order for things to work. We saw CS Kindiki at Nyayo House. We saw CS Murkomen, also storming the NTSA offices. How do we ensure that these systems are working? It's not that we need to get to a point where we have CSs going to particular institutions for things to get working.
Thank you. Vivian, I want to give an example just to illustrate to our viewers some points. Look at, for example, a very simple issue of before the introduction of this queuing system in banks. We used to have people just lining, that you want to get services, maybe you see it. There is highly likely that because people are really it creates some incentive for somebody to even go before you, or somebody being served who just being served before you. Are you getting? So, or even hospitals. We now came up with what we call this machine queuing system, whereby you just get your token and then you wait to be called.
Yeah.
You see how that is a system. So what we are saying is systems need to be deliberately put in place. So it is the people who are in position to put in place. And let me tell you, some systems are deliberately put in place so that they don't work. And that is why the Commission has a mandate to do what you call preventive mandate, to really do assessment of systems, what we call corruption risk assessments, and really give advisories to institutions. And in the last 5 years, we did that close to over 70 public institutions, including county government, around 27 of them, whereby we studied their systems, how they really operations are, the procedures, the processes, how do they dispense services to the people, how do they, and we really give advisories. And we tell them that you need to really take up these advisories and implement. Some implemented, some did not, because of the what you call the gap or the vacuum in the legal system, because we don't have those strong, legal, what you call, powers to really make sure that to really instill compliance and enforce compliance by way of sanctions, etc. But we are really looking to that level, whereby we're really proposing that we should be given that powers, so that at least we can enforce the strict and complete, strict adherence or maybe compliance to the advisories that are there. So the question is, systems are put in place by people who are in that position. And this include even the people themselves. Systems start with who is handling the system. Are people in the public office first having, or did they meet the threshold given to us by Article 73, which is what you call competence, suitability, and personal integrity? That's one. Two, do you have the right systems, that is in terms of maybe technology that we are supposed to really use? Are we together? Whereby you don't need even to go to a public office. You can get those things digitally. Unfortunately, Vivian, to say some of the public institutions, you'll find they really put up a system, but it really breaks down in some times. Are we together? Yeah. You'll hear that the same task is corrupted, or maybe the system is not working. But can we really have and audit those systems? Can we have at least services being provided? Because let me tell you, corruption happens, especially on issues we talk about, bribery, happens where there is element where people seek services. Yeah. And there's a very big interaction between the public service provider or service giver and the service seeker. So they call point of service. Now, how do you reduce that? It's a very simple thing. By trying to automate those clerical jobs and services, that you don't need to really go to an office to get a receipt or make a payment and get a receipt. That means you can make payment digitally by way of maybe paying it through the digital platforms, and you get the receipt immediately. So you don't need to go to that office or to queue. Are you getting? That is a system. Yeah. And it really works. That is the preventive element we are talking about. So just like the way the queuing system has really helped, that is why we are saying let's have stronger systems. The good thing with these systems, especially having stronger policies, for example. Yeah. Government is not devoid of these issues. They will have guidelines, policies, SOPs, etc. But the issue is, do you have the right people to really make sure that those policies work? Or those policies are made to work sometimes, and sometimes they're not adhered to. So we really have those very big, very mix of issues. Personal integrity of the people in office, systems that are put in place, simpler procedures. We have done research, and research has really found that corruption thrives in institutions where there's complexity of procedures. That indeed, for you to get a service like, for example, a driving license, for example, you need to go here, you need to go there, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to produce your birth certificate, you need to do ABCD, you need to. When you have those complexities, a service seeker will ask, is there an alternative? Yeah. And that is now the alternative. In fact, where complex procedures are put in place in any institution you will find, it is an incentive for the service provider to really look for another way, of the service seeker to do another way. And it's also an incentive to the public officer, because the public officer will ask, because the procedures are very complex, it will make that person very difficult to get that service. So he will ask, is there another way? Yeah. And that's now the element of the bribery. So what we are saying is, let us have stronger systems. You talked about, officers going to, if that works, if that can really revamp the system, and people know that the system now is revamped, yes, but is it sustainable? No. Yes. So we need to really continue to make sure that those systems are really revamped and they work. Yeah.
I hear you on that. But what about our roads? Because we know that our roads, when it comes to corruption, that is one of the main areas. So what are you as the EACC doing to prevent, the bribes on our roads? And
yeah, thank you. And I think that is, I told you that we have very many or very various strategies we use. And one of it I talked to you about is about studying the systems and the conditions of work and the procedures that are put in place by different public institutions, and then giving advisories. Second, we also do public awareness. We do public awareness, we tell the people, and we even tell them to report. You remember just a month ago, we had some arrests we did around in Nairobi, but we are talking about that is a deterrent. It is to create that element that impunity should not continue. People should not just, but what we are saying here is, can we, as a public, as a people, take up that role of make sure that whenever we see a bad thing happening, we don't just look the other side. We have to really take our responsibilities and say this is bad. Report, because we have a toll-free line, Vivian.
Yeah.
If you look at 1551, that is 1551, and call us so that at least we can really help you. Are you together? Then the other issue is the element that the public themselves. Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
If, for example, we are in a public sector, public transport, and the people there say no, we will not allow this happening. Or you've seen those stickers they normally put, especially MTSA was putting Zusha, when there's overspeeding or these things. That collective responsibility works, because you will find that the officers or the enforcement officers may not be everywhere. But if the public are already there and something wrong is happening and we say no, this thing should not happen, it will stop. Another example, if you are in a public office and we are queuing and we see something very uneasy happening, if we all start voicing our concern and say no, we are not ready to do this, don't you think that public officer will change? They will. So what we are saying is that collective voice is very important. Unfortunately, Vivian, let me tell you something.
Yeah.
In Kenya, we have what you call the prisoner's dilemma. We are suffering in what you call a prisoner's dilemma. What's a prisoner's dilemma? For example, me and you, we are service seekers. Mohammed is ready to pay bribe. Vivian is not ready. So Vivian keeps quiet. Mohammed continues. Mohammed doesn't complain because the system is working for him through maybe the bribe he's paying, for example. Are you getting me? So it's like, and Mohammed, who is paying the bribe, knows that he ought not to have done that. Are you together?
Yeah.
But if you ask Mohammed, why did you do that? He will tell you, then it's not another way. I'm just doing it. But he says, is it of interest to you to stop that so that you get? He says yes. So it is of public interest for both of us not to pay. But why am I doing? Because I feel like if I don't do, Vivian will do and she will get the service. Maybe we are seeking the same service. So that is the dilemma we are really facing. So what we need to do is to really unshackle ourselves from that dilemma and put ourselves that, no, this is not, we cannot really live in that situation. Let us have one voice, and that is what we call collective voice, and say no to this. And that way, I'm sure the public institutions will do their job. The leadership will do its job because they will see the public are very much concerned about it, and systems will work for us. That is that is the aspirations that we want to have as Kenyans. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
There's the Transparency International 2022 Corruption Perception Index. Last year, Kenya scored 32 on a scale of 0 to 100, 100 being extremely clean. So we are really below average, if I may say so. But you told me earlier that it's a plus. We've gone a bit like 4 steps ahead.
Sorry, Vivian, if you look at that perception index, okay, of course 32 is completely below average.
Yeah.
That one, no doubt about it. And that is the perception, the general perception that is there.
Yeah.
And we're not doing well, that is right. Only that the only thing, if you look at the year previously, we were 28. So we just added some few baby steps. We made some few steps here and there. We are not really saying that we are where we want to be. In fact, we are really, if you look at several other metrics, if you look at the Afrobarometer, if you look at the corruption perception index by TI, if you look at even other governance, studies that were done, we are not doing well. And that is why we're saying, where is the problem?
Yes.
And that's why we're really fixing. One thing that you need to really know, and this is a common thing, is that you cannot fix governance issues or corruption issues if you don't have the right people or the right leadership. In fact, everything starts and falls with the leadership. Let me tell you, because leaders really put systems in place. In fact, their words and their thoughts are so infectious that they really, and the actions, of course, not only words, the actions also, very important. So that is why you will find it's not a mistake. And you look at, if you are a student of history, I normally say in my own personal studies that this bad manners started even the day we really crafted this nation together. That public officers who are put in public positions were not really serving the purpose for which they are. Many of them. Why? Because they're only serving their own personal gains or personal purpose. So once you derail from the purpose, then systems will not work for you. So what we are saying is, we need to have those strong leadership, positions. And people in leadership are very many. Not only the elected ones, even the appointed in position. You are a CEO you are a governor. You are a CEO of an institution. You are the managing director of an institution. You are a director of a section. Take your personal responsibility to make sure that you show leadership and you don't use your office to extract personal benefit. You use your office to do what? To serve the people. That notion, if every person who is in office does that, then I'm telling you, we will have at least a better country. And that perception index, I'm telling you, will going to change. So what we need is that strong leadership is very key. And in fact, very key is the political leadership. Very important. We can really go about it, but they're very important because you understand what a political leader can really do for you. And countries have really succeeded in taming these issues of bad governance through the political leadership. That's one. But what we are talking about is not only that. The people in position, the people in public office, from the CEO, from the Director General up to that person down there, who is using public office to really serve, who is using that public office to serve his personal gains. Let's try to really refocus on that and come to the purpose. Of course, the issue of investigations and punishing impunity will work, but the best and the most sustainable, in my view, is the element of prevention. That everybody should do his or her job. And that way we can have a better country.
As we all have the job to, each and every one of us has the mandate to do our job. If you can just share with us that toll-free number again so that we can have it on our screen. So the toll-free number that anyone can be able to call.
Is 1551. 1551. And that is the number that you can use.
1551 is the toll-free number. In case you have any matter that you need to report to the EACC, then that is the number that you can get to find them on. 1551.
Just to add on, EACC also have offices in the regions. So we have several offices in the regions. We have if you just go to our website, you're going to find www.eacc.go.ke. You will have offices in Nakuru, we have offices in Mombasa, we have offices in Kisii, Bungoma, Garissa.
Have offices all over.
Around, we have regional offices. We really have regional offices, so that at least, because we don't have that, of course, there's an element of resources. We have not really gone to, maybe in our strategic plan, we need to really devolve further and have a bigger number of staff, but we are really going there. So nonetheless, we hope to really go up to the mashinani. But the issue here is, please let us take that personal responsibility on those issues and see that this issue of bad governance and corruption is really affecting us. It is directly affecting us, and it is also indirectly affecting us. I'll give you just one example if I share with our viewers.
As we
wind up. You see, in our social cycles, every time you will find every month you are paying bills, for example. maybe maybe somebody needs to go to hospital, you need to contribute.
Yeah.
But the question, and very simple issues, for example, but the question you ask is, was it not the work of a duty bearer, for example, government, to provide these simple services like water, like food, like element of healthcare? So if the systems are working, we don't need to really use a part of my income to really do what government could have done, which is to treat people in hospitals. So let us see it from that end, that when we really take personal responsibility to fight these issues, then we are really also serving ourselves, because we are really deterring, or we are really preventing other economic losses that we suffer as even individuals.
Okay. As we come to a close on this discussion, my final question to you, can we ever get to a point where Kenya is corruption-free? Quick answer.
It is an aspiration. Yeah. We aspire to go there. Yeah. In fact, if you look at in our new strategic plan, we say eradicate. We are not saying minimize. We have ourselves where we eradicate. So we are aspiring to go there, because we are human beings. God has given us faculties and strength. So if we mean, we can. So the will has to come from us, and we should be focused collectively. We will go there, and that is what we think we can do.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us on this discussion, and I believe that this is a discussion that we should be having continuously, not a one-time discussion.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mohamud. Yes. That was Mr. Mohamud Abdi, who is an Education and Public Awareness Officer at the EACC. Well, I'll be back in a moment.
팀장이 호송차를 끌고 도주했답니다. 사전에 준비해둔 도주 프로토콜이야. 이대로 CCTV를 추적하는 건 무의미해.
도박이 수류차 위치 추적할 수 있대.
중로 삼거리 5시 차가 데리러 갈 거야.
진욱재!
Live from Broadcasting House, Nairobi, Kenya. This is KBC English Service.
Welcome to Beat Time Show, the very best of the 80s and 90s. Me, John Korani, JK.
Timeless music hits across the decades.
This is the place to be after you've had a tough day. Here we celebrate love and life.
Just watch. The sound of KBC English Service.
I'm the host Caroline Wangishi, Carol Gatata Moshero.
My name is Geoffrey Mongai. News, information and entertainment. KBC English Service, Kenya's official national radio.
County Government of Turkana welcomes you to the Ehale Center in Lodwar Town for the 7th edition of the Turkana Cultural and Tourism Festival. From 12th to the 14th of October 2023. Come, experience the origin of mankind with its unmatched beauty, from the beaches of Lake Turkana to the oil wells of Lokichar. Live on Channel 1, Radio Taifa and KBC Turkana Service.
Once again.
And we are back. Thank you for staying tuned. Now, every year, the world celebrates World International Tourism Day on the 27th of September, which is actually today. And for that reason, I am joined by one Joel Mule, who is the CEO Ankole Tours, to join me in this discussion of World Tourism Day and how tourism is in the country at the moment. Welcome to the program.
Asante, Vivian. Good morning, viewers. As you heard, I'm the CEO and Director of Ankole Tours and Travel. And today, being the 27th of September, we observe a World Tourism Day, a significant a spotlight to observe the global tourism since 1980. First and foremost, let me recognize the CES for tourism, Madam Penina Malonza, for the good work she is doing in the tourism industry. We are happy to have her, and we are happy to see her on board for the tourism and everything regarding tourism.
Okay.
Tourism in Kenya is very expansive. It comprises a lot of things, from tour operators, to hoteliers, to curio shop, to mwananchi, and to tour guides. And it is one of the big industry in the country that we are having at the moment.
Yeah.
We can see the fruit.
Okay. How are we celebrating this day? How are we commemorating it as a country?
We are looking into seeing a lot of tourists. We are looking into seeing a lot of marketing. We market our country, as Kenya. We market Kenya abroad and also locally. So we focus on tourists a lot, especially local and international. And as a country, we look at it as a day that we are supposed to work hand in hand, from the hoteliers to tour operators to tour guides, and see we make it in the tourism business.
What impact does tourism have economically, maybe, in the country?
It brings a lot of green money in the country, and also the Kenyan currency. And we can see economically tourism lifting the economy of this country. We are getting a lot of finances from abroad and also locally, and a lot of returns to the country.
What are some of our main tourism attractions? We know of our wildlife.
Yeah, we know of wildlife.
Yeah.
We have a lot. We have the beach side. We have the Rift Valley is a tourist attraction. We have Samburu, or the northern side of the country. Tourism is all about going to the wild, going and seeing the wild animals. Also the culture, our culture. Not only the Maasai culture, but we have the Kamba culture, we have the Kikuyu culture, we have the Embu culture. So you get to be interested in seeing different cultures in this country. Yeah, as a tourist, you don't only need to see animals. You also need to see the culture that we have. You also need to see the landscape that we have in this country, and you also need to see a lot of birds that we have in this country. We have a lot of lakes that you can go and visit and enjoy. We have a lot of mountains that you can go and climb, and yeah.
What maybe, or why would you say, why are we not exploring these other things as much. You know, you've mentioned our culture as part of tourism. You've mentioned, you know, some of the things that we normally don't really explore even as a people in the country. And what is the reason?
Now, we as tour operators, we are the one to pull up our socks and try to explore more of what we can sell to our clients. We need to think outside that box. We need to do even eco-tourism that comprises of maybe the wild, the landscape, the plantation, and the culture. So we as tour operators, we need to sell a lot of our culture. And also the Ministry for Tourism, they should also market our culture as a people of Kenya.
Yeah, and on marketing, are we really marketing our country out there as a tourism destination? I want to give it to Tanzanians because I feel like at the moment they have really marketed their country as a tourism destination in Africa and Rwanda as well. I don't know if we as Kenya have really done that because I don't see much of that even online.
I can attest onto that. I guess we are still pulling behind. We need to market Kenya very well, and the Minister of Tourism, they need to invest in marketing this country because we depend. Tourism is big, and the country is gets a lot of taxes from tourism. So as a tourism ministry, they need to invest in marketing this country. They need to think outside there what we can market as a country. They need to buy new ideas of marketing the country outside there. Yeah.
Maybe what ways would it be best for them to use to ensure that we are marketing our country enough as a tourism destination, because it is a tourism destination?
When the Ministry of Tourism brings on board everybody, the tour operators, the tour guides, and everybody, then they bring their heads together, then we can go far. We can market this country. And Kenya is beautiful. Kenya is beautiful more than some other countries here in Africa that are getting more tourists than us. So we need to market the country very well. Yeah, we need to think outside what we can do. Can we market on another direction? Can we look to different perspective and see what we can get from outside there?
Yeah. Kenya is actually ranked 7th in East Africa when it comes to tourism. We are 7th.
We are 7th.
That's a good placement?
No, we should be number 1. Because when we talk of like the migration, although it's happening in Tanzania, but the best view, it is in Kenya. It is in Kenya. The best game is in Kenya. Masai Mara, the best. So when the migration is happening, they migrate from Tanzania coming to Kenya. And that is the time that we go into peak season. So if we can think outside that box, what we can do more and try to go up there.
What would you say ails the tourism sector in the country? What is ailing? What is affecting the tourism sector in the country, or some of the challenges?
Bad management. Yeah, if we can manage tourism in a good way, then we'll get out of that place we are. Yeah, we can go number 1. So
the main thing is just poor management.
Poor management. If the Ministry of Tourism is the board that is holding tourism, we can look back when Balala was there. We can look back when somebody else was there, and we can see the difference. So, CS for Tourism, she need really to invest in marketing tourism in Kenya.
You started by applauding her.
Yeah, but she need to invest. Yeah, she's doing a good work, but she need to invest more on marketing this country. Yeah.
And ways in which she can do that?
When she pull everybody together. And she pulls everybody together, just not a few people. She pulls everybody together. The tour operators, as I said, she pull together the guys like the KWS who manages the animals and the parks. They get pulled together. The tour guides, they get pulled together to the ministry, and they bring their ideas. Everybody has an idea outside there, better than mine, and better than somebody else. So when they are pulled together, they bring their ideas together, then we can shoot to number one. Yeah, and we'll bring a lot of green money to the country. Not only the green money, even the Kenyan shilling. Yeah.
What are some of the opportunities available in tourism?
Tour guiding, that is one.
Yeah, and I feel like tour guides are not as talked about oftenly or applauded as much.
Yes, I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but for me, I will applaud them because I know tour guides are the ambassadors. They are ambassadors of tourism. Let us not lie. Tourism is held by the tour guides, because without the tour guides, then there is no tourist.
They play a huge role.
They play a huge role more than the tour operator. For example, I'm a tour operator. I market the country outside there, or even locally. Guess who takes the clients to the wild, to their destination where they are going, is the tour guide. And the tour guide knows a lot about the country more than the tour operator, or more than somebody else, or more than somebody else who is working with the tourism. And you find these guys are very smart. They handle the client from morning to evening, maybe from airport or maybe from somebody's resident, and they drive along the road. They will explain everything. They will see or hear a bird singing, and they will know the name, the bird by the name, and they will explain to the client, because you expect a client can ask any question anytime. They will ask, I heard a bird, what bird was that? If you don't know, what are you going to say? So these guys, tour guides, are the ambassadors, and tour guides, they play a big role in this industry. They sell the country because they are the one explaining everything. If they go to the wild, they take you to a hotel. They know, it's like, a tour guide is like a moving Google map. They know everywhere. Even places where there are no signages, they will take you there. They need to be recognized. They need to be brought on board in the Ministry of Tourism. Yeah.
What are some of the other opportunities? Because that's, we've just touched on tour guiding.
Investing in hotels, investing in transport. You invest in a hotel, you invest in transport, tour vehicles. Yeah, it's an opportunity.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into our local tourism. How do we facilitate local tourism?
We give them the best rates, budgeted rates. You know, I'm a Kenyan. Tunapenda kubagain. And we'll try to give them a good package to win their souls and to win them for safari. So I'll applaud local tourism. We were hit by COVID 2 years ago, and the local tourists, our brothers and sisters in Kenya, they really held us tight when things were tough for us, because we took them on safari. I didn't know Kenyans can go to Masai Mara, but all of a sudden things changed. Masai Mara, Mombasa, Nakuru, Naivasha, everywhere.
So you want to say, sorry for cutting you short, before COVID happened, Kenyans were not really going to these destinations in the country? We were not touring around the country?
Very little. Kidogo.
Yeah.
We didn't see a lot of Kenyans going for safaris. But COVID came, everything changed. I applaud you, Kenyans. You really held our hands when things were tough. We took you on safari, and we managed. And I know the government can attest, because they received some some taxes from the local tourism. Yeah. So local tourists, big up.
Yeah. Speaking of COVID-19, we know that during that time, one of the most hit people were people in tourism. So how are you catching up so far, being that, it was just a couple of years ago?
Yeah. I can say after COVID, slowly things are picking up. Like this year, we received a lot of Chinese tourists, and with Chinese, they normally come in big numbers, and especially at the peak season, they come in big numbers. And this year, things have changed. Yeah, things have changed. We are picking up. Slowly, we are picking up, because like this year, a lot of hotels were fully booked in Masai Mara, Nakuru, Mombasa, everywhere. Hotels were fully booked, and that's a good picture. It's a good move. So I appreciate how things have changed.
Okay. And maybe for someone who's watching and they've not really taken their time to tour the country, what are the reasons for tourism? Maybe they may be asking themselves, why should I go around Kenya? Why not just look for money and go outside the country?
To be honest, tourism or touring is a therapy. And for me, I can attest. I've been on safari for the longest time. Time to time, I've been driving as a driver guide, and it's a therapy. So you need to go out here, book a safari, and you will see and understand what I'm saying when I say it's a therapy. Because when you go out there, you will meet different people, different culture, different animals, different animal behavior, different thing every day. You will not see what you saw yesterday. So it's a therapy. It will ease your pressure, your stress, everything. Don't look about the money. Look about what you're going to get from going for a safari or a tour.
Is it expensive to travel around?
Not really. No. When you travel with us, we give you the best rate. I guess Masai Mara budget safari for one person in a Land Cruiser, not a van. We have a Land Cruiser. If you give me 17,000, you will go for 3 days on a full board. Yeah, per person on a full board meal plan. You will eat, drink.
3 days?
3 days.
Okay.
That is 3 days. You'll have breakfast, you'll have lunch, you'll have dinner, and you'll have safari. So per person, on a budget safari.
Yeah.
So it's not very expensive. I know we spend a lot of money doing some other things, but when we come to treating ourselves for a safari, then you feel this is a lot of money. No, it isn't a lot of money. It's going to heal you. It's a therapy you're going to get outside there. Yeah, it's fun going on a safari.
Yeah. For that 17,000 per person, do I need to come in a group? Because I know that sometimes the price goes lower when you're in a group. So this 17,000, is it that I've just come as Vivian, I have no one else?
When I say budget safari, we do a group joining. So you're going to meet other people on the safari, people that maybe you don't know, or maybe you can come with your friend or family. But if you meet people you don't know, then you get to catch up. Maybe you get somebody from Nigeria and that's the same safari, somebody from Europe in the same safari, but they want to pay budget safari. So when you join together, then you become a team and a family. By the end of the day, you are going to enjoy the safari.
I get that. What are some of the trends in travel?
Pardon?
Trends in travel.
I don't know how to put that, but all I can say is a good thing. Yeah.
Okay. Who would you say are visiting Kenya mainly?
I'll talk on my behalf.
Yes.
Let me not talk about everybody else. For me, I'll say my market is in Iran. My big market is in Iran.
Iranians are visiting Kenya?
Yes,
okay.
And I'll applaud them. Applaud them. I'll say big up Iranian. All I can say to them, if they are listening or they are watching, Salam Sopeker. Salam Sopeker is good morning. And Iranians, if you didn't know, Iranians are coming back to back from January to January. I don't have a low season, I don't have a high season in my company. All season, they are coming. So Iranians, for me, they are the big market. And then Europe, Spain, mostly Spanish, Germans, and Russians are also coming, and Chinese and Americans. Yeah.
What is it that you're doing so that, because you said Iranians are like the ones who are really coming into the country, according to you and the tour travel that you had, what is it that you're doing? Maybe other tour travels can do to tap some of these markets that we didn't expect?
Just marketing and being Iranians. They are from the Arab countries. Yeah, they are from the Middle East. These people are Muslims. Muslims don't love Aram. They want straightforward things. So you do your thing, you do your safari in an honest way, being faithful to them, and you market the best you can. So we can say, Ankole Tours and Travel, we are trending in Iran.
All right. Thank you so much for coming to Good Morning Kenya, and thank you for shedding light on this as we celebrate World Tourism Day. Okay, this is where we put a cap to today's Good Morning Kenya. Thank you so much to each and every one of you who has been tuned in. My name is Vivian Degwa, and right now I want us to head straight to Turkana County for the Senate proceedings.
Otero almost died because of your negligence. But that was an accident. That was... In this hospital, we don't accept those accidents.
We are going to find out together what exactly happened to you that night.
When that Anibal leaves, tell me at once. So I can put my plan into action.
Calm down.
If you've been unfaithful or not, I beg you, tell Isabel!
What do you mean your brother was shot?
What?
So how is Danielle?
I don't know, Dad. I had to leave him there because Isabel had an asthma attack.
What's going on?
You left him there?
I already called an ambulance.
I take this opportunity to welcome wananchi, citizen voters at Turkana County for Senate Mashinani. This Senate Mashinani, all Senate from Kenya, all the 47 counties will be attending a Senate session in Turkana County. We are very happy as the Senator of Turkana County because it is a privilege, it is honor for the Senate House leadership to consider Turkana for Senate Mashinani. Because for Senate Mashinani, citizens will be involved in making decisions, in making the fundamental problems they have been encountering in their everyday life. And this Senate Mashinani, with the role of the Senate, that it is representing the citizen making of law and oversight. So that opportunity will be taken to assess, to protect what Turkana is, because people have been hearing of Turkana, reading in the newspapers, seeing on the TVs what the Turkana it is. So, as a representative of this area as a Senate, everything in the Senate is well prepared. We are ready. The ground is very ready for the Senate. In terms of facilities, accommodation, halls for trainings, they are very ready.
Oh, by your hips, the language, show love and share your last breath. I'm living a dream, yeah. Every day we got go fight. I think it's best that you forgive me. Oh, goodness is running after, it's running after me. Some people die, die, die without living out their dreams. Oh, I want to make with alone. Girl, I want make you closer. Girl, I want make you closer.
This is the 13th Parliament, the second session of the Senate sittings in Lodwar, Turkana County. The Senate Mashinani has been an initiative by the Parliamentary Service Commission. It is geared towards taking the Senate closer to the people. After Uasin Gishu, Kitui, now Turkana County is playing host to the sittings of the Senate at the County Assembly of Turkana in Lodwar town. This broadcast is brought to you by the Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit in conjunction with the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. My name is Edward Kabasa. We'll take a look at the order of business this morning. On your screen, a couple of images of the County Assembly. The senators are making their way into the chambers. It is the second day of the sittings. They did begin yesterday, a sitting which proceeded into the night. And this morning, the primary healthcare bill, Senate Bills number 44 of 2023, will be debated for the second reading. The resumption of the debate will take place today. Yesterday, the bill was proposed and it was seconded. And so this morning, after the questions and statements, the senators will be getting down to business to discuss this important bill. And the principal object of this bill is to establish a framework for the delivery of access to and management of primary health care. The framework creates an elaborate primary healthcare network